Hey everybody, Nacho Steve, back in the lab again. Today we are going to talk about spots. Not just ours, we're going to look at some other ones too. Good products, but we're going to talk about what you want to look for when you're buying a spot beam in an LED light. So get ready, I'm going to melt your mind with some knowledge on candela, lumens, and beam width. We've got a few lights here to look at today. We've got our TM5 Racer, and we've got our Quattro Spot. Spec sheets are great. Manufacturers always like to tout their spec sheets. And if you want to talk specs, that's cool. We'll play that game too. Let's just talk about this for now. We've got a 60 watt spot with about 5,000 effective lumens and an incredible 10-degree width beam. On the TM5, it's about 90 watts. We're gonna have about 7,000 effective lumens, and we're gonna have an amazing 400,000 candela, but it's gonna be in about a 5-degree beam width. So, now that you know that, let's talk about what really matters. Everybody likes to talk about lumens or candela. That's what everybody measures. Lumens is a measure of total light coming out. Candela is gonna be a measure of your intensity. Neither of those on their own really matter. What matters is where is all that energy going? Just because you can create energy, you have to use it, you have to harness it, you have to put it somewhere. There's a whole lot more than just spec sheets. Everybody likes to talk about lumens and candela. Candela is gonna be your efficiency, lumens are gonna be your total energy. But there's so much more than that when it comes to an LED light. Neither of those matter on their own. What really matters is doing something together, is what do you do with that energy and how do you shape it? When you're driving your family in your car, you want the safest light possible, and the safest light possible is going to be the most useful. So let's get into what makes a spot beam, or any LED light for that matter, useful. Just so we have our terms right, let's get everything clear. So we talked about lumens and candela. Let's look at that as water. Your lumens is going to be flow out of a hose, a shower head, you pick it, and your candela is going to be how much pressure is coming out. A spot beam is kind of like a pressure washer. It has super high pressure, but very low flow. A pressure washer is very high candela, high pressure, and very low lumens, very low flow. And a pressure washer works amazing. The problem is you got to move it all over the place to get it to do anything. And a very, very narrow spot beam is going to be the same thing. It might go a long way and have a ton of pressure or candela, but unless you can move your light all over the place, it's really not going to do anything. What we want is a fire hose. We want enough pressure to get the job done, but enough flow to put the fire out, or enough lumens so you can see where you're going in the appropriate beam shape. So let's get back to the light. On a spot beam, we believe that anything less than about 6 degrees is going to be a very specialized light. Now, that's not to say it's a bad thing. We offer our TM5 in about a 5-degree beam with 400,000 candela. We talked about that. The problem is that's why we call it a racer. It works good if you're driving 100 miles an hour. Everybody thinks they drive 100 miles per hour, but very few of us actually do. That's where the Quattro Spot comes in. It's gonna be a very, very good all-around spot beam with that very nice 10-degree wide beam. We specifically designed it to have that 10-degree spot. The 10-degree spot gives you incredible situational awareness. You can see everything going on in front of you. Could we have designed it to have 250,000 candela? Absolutely, but it's going to be a 4-degree beam at that point, and we don't think that is the most useful. We're not going to release a light just to win the spec race if it's not going to be the right light for you as the user. There's one other thing you want to look at, and that's going to be how many lumens are in the beam. That's going to be how much flow is within that beam. Now you can have a whole bunch of lumens, they're going to go everywhere, or you can have a lot of lumens in the useful beam. It's kind of a happy medium. You don't want all of your lumens in a beam because then you get what we call a moon beam. And that's going to be all your light with nothing else outside of it. And that's very hard to see what's happening other than what's inside that narrow beam. You can also have too little inside the beam, and that's going to be a poorly designed reflector typically, where you get just a ton of spill light and a little bit of beam spiked right in the middle, but it doesn't do what you want to because it's just a glorified floodlight. So we're going to take a look at some beams, and I'm going to show you the difference between one that has about 40% and then one the Quattro has about 65%. So we can kind of see the difference. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn everything around. We're going to use my highly calibrated optical comparator device again, and we're going to take a look at some different beams. Okay, let's take a look at some lights. We're going to start with probably too narrow of a beam for most people out there. We're going to look at our TM5 Racer. We've actually got a Diode Dynamics SS3 Max, which is a very cool light, but again, very narrow, very specialized. And then we're going to look at something that's a little broader, a little bit more useful for the mass market. So first thing we're going to look at is going to be our TM5 Racer. And you can see it's got a very, very nice spot right in the middle, but then you've got some floodlight around. And that's where we're talking about lumens in the beam versus lumens out of the beam. We've got a ton of lumens in the beam. It's going to be about 40–45%. And then you've got the other 60% is going to be around the beam. So you keep that situational awareness. Now the next up, we've got a Diode Dynamics SS3 Max. Cool little light, very, very high candela, 250,000 candela. I mean, this is an awesome light, but it's very specialized, just like the Racer. The Racer is going to be about 400,000 candela. This is going to be about 250,000 candela. So let's take a look. So you can see you've got about a 5-degree beam on the left, and then this is going to be about a 3.5-degree beam on the right. A little bit less spill light, so you've got less light outside the beam. But again, for a very specialized product and a very nice small package, the Diode Dynamics light's actually pretty nice. At this point, we'll go ahead and put the diode light away, and we'll look at the Quattro spot beam. So, light it up. You can see on the wall, the camera does a pretty good job of representing it. You've got a pretty nice spill light that goes out to about 20–25 degrees, and then you've got this beautiful 10-degree spot in the middle that is going to give you incredible situational awareness and 95% of what you need a spot beam for. Seeing the whole road, about a quarter mile, half mile in front of you, but the whole road, not just a single little bit of it, a little bit further. At this point, we'll go ahead and put the Racer beam back up, and you can see what a 5-degree beam on the right looks like versus a 10-degree beam on the left. Now, one's 400,000 candela on the right, and you've got 100,000 candela on the left. Now, it might seem like a lot, but when you get out there, your eye's going to dilate and it's going to adjust to the brightest spot. Now, if that brightest spot is a tiny little beam way down the road, that's one thing. That's what your eyes are going to dilate to, and you won't be able to see the rest of the road. This beam is going to be much, much nicer as a usable beam. Your eyes adjust to what the available light is. You need the right shaped beam. You don't need the highest candela beam shining a mile down the road. Now that you've seen both of them and you've compared ours to another very well-designed spotlight with a diode light versus a nice 10-degree, very usable beam, you can see what different spot beams are going to be useful for. In our mind, a 10-degree, very well-designed, very smooth beam is going to give you better light than a Racer-specific, super narrow, super high candela, go 100 miles an hour beam. So, if you have any questions about what spot's appropriate for your application, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Thanks for watching.